What if I told you that discipline, the very thing you've honored, is not the key? That your early wake-ups, your cold showers, your relentless journaling mean nothing without law? Would you listen? Have you ever wondered why you still drift, even when doing all the right things? Why you keep breaking promises, even when your will feels solid? Why success lands on others who seem far less disciplined than you? This message will answer all of it. You'll discover why the man who relies on discipline eventually breaks, why effort without law crumbles under pressure, why your life won't transform until you declare a standard, one higher than your emotions, stronger than your motivation, and more lasting than willpower. Solomon didn't operate by habit, he reigned by law. Ford didn't wait for a spark, he built under command. Edison didn't consult his feelings, he fulfilled what he had written. I'll show you how to construct your internal government, how to draft your code, command your thoughts, and become immovable, because you don't need more discipline, you need law. And when you understand this, you'll never try hard again. You'll become the kind of man the law rewards. Introduction. Discipline will not rescue you, it will drain you. You can rise before dawn, recite affirmations, resist temptation, and still live in lack. You can journal with devotion, schedule your hours perfectly, and still wander aimlessly. Why? Because you never wrote a law. You never issued a command your soul would obey regardless of cost. You're leaning on willpower when you should be enforcing covenant. Discipline is the illusion of order. Law is order imposed from within. A disciplined man moves when inspired. A man of law moves regardless. The world remembers the second. It forgets the first. The man of law isn't trying to hold things together. He is the structure. His actions aren't habits, they're commands. His day isn't managed, it's dictated. Let me be direct. You are tired because you're trying to manage your behavior instead of declaring your destiny. You're trying to correct by effort what can only be governed by law. Discipline bends under pressure. Law hardens under pressure. Law endures where discipline breaks. Look at the men you admire: Edison, Ford, Lincoln, Carnegie. Were they simply disciplined? No, they were governed. They ruled their attention, mastered their time. They wrote a law and enforced it. That's what made them untouchable. They lived as if they carried a constitution within them, one they never broke. Today, the world celebrates routines, morning rituals, hard work. But those are shadows of something deeper. True power lives in the man who separates execution from emotion. He doesn't rise early because it's trendy. He rises because it's law. He doesn't write when he feels like it. He writes because it is written. He doesn't eat for comfort, speak without purpose, or waste an hour because his law forbids it. Law brings clarity. It erases indecision. You feel exhausted because you keep asking questions. Should I train today? Should I work? Should I finish what I started? But the man of law asks no questions. He doesn't act from emotion. He acts from command. And listen carefully. The only man who becomes free is the one who enslaves himself to his own vision. Everyone else serves opinions, distractions, and failure. The man who writes law rules himself. The man who doesn't becomes ruled by everything else. Now, I'm not talking about laws made by governments, religions, or trends. I'm speaking of the law you etch into your soul. The law that governs your rising and your sleeping, your planning, and your doing, your speaking, and your stillness. That law is your identity. Everything else is noise. In this speech, I'll teach you how to build that law, how to turn discipline into rhythm, mood into obedience, energy into direction. I'll show you how to set a standard for your life so high that failure cannot survive. Near it, and you'll see how Ford, Edison, Lincoln, and Schwab didn't just grind, they obeyed law. And that made them unshakable. The world is full of men who try hard, who hustle, who burn out. But it is built by men who move without hesitation. Speak with precision, plan with clarity, and execute as if it were already written, because to them it was. You're not here to perform, you're here to declare. You're not here to cope, you're here to command. You're not here to wait for discipline to carry you, you're here to replace discipline with law. Say this with me now, not as motivation, but as decree. I do not rely on mood. I live by law. I no longer worship discipline. I write law and obey. My life is not managed. It is commanded. You were lied to. You were told that waking early, journaling, reading, and enduring pain would make you powerful. But I've seen men rise before dawn and still drown in mediocrity. I've seen men sweat daily and never rise. Why? Because they lacked law. Their discipline was motion without meaning. Their effort was performance without command. A man can act from pressure or from power. And you must ask yourself, what do you obey when no one is watching? A routine from a book? A quote you shared for validation? Or a law engraved so deeply into your soul that breaking it would feel like betrayal? The man of discipline doubts himself daily. The man of law is unshakable. Discipline is what most men grab when they feel weak, but law is what few men write when they crave transformation. One is pushed, the other is pulled. One needs reinforcement, the other enforces itself. Thomas Edison didn't merely endure, he dictated his days. He lived by a rigid structure of work, rest, experiments, and review. Not because a mentor told him to, but because his law demanded it. His law declared, I am an inventor. Everything else had to align. You're not tired because your dreams are too large. You're tired because you're trying to use discipline to do a job only law can handle. You're dragging your soul through habits when you should be infusing it with identity. Discipline maintains. Law transforms. So I ask you directly, what are your laws? Not your goals, not your wishes, not your preferences, your laws. What rules shape your rising? What code governs your meals, your words, your evenings? What have you declared so sacred that no emotion can violate it? You say you work hard, but do you work from law or from guilt? From vision or routine? From devotion or from noise? Let me give you the image that will reshape your life. Discipline is a soldier, it must be commanded. Law is the king. If there is no king, the soldiers wander. They burn without conquering. They move but never advance. Write your throne, then march your troops. Most men fall apart because they lean on accountability partners, programs, dopamine. But these are chains of straw. When the storm comes, they snap. The man of law doesn't rely on external motivation. His soul is fused too. His decree, he doesn't collapse when weary. He executes because his word is inviolable. Edison didn't create through luck. He produced over 10,000 prototypes, not because he was addicted to effort, but because his law required his presence. Every failure was fuel. Every setback was logged. He wasn't just disciplined, he was governed. And what about you? You journal. But do you obey what you write? You wake early, but do you honor that hour or just parade it for pride? You read books, but do you extract law or quote them for applause? Let me tell you plainly, effort without aim is wasted power. Strain without structure is punishment. Motion without a code is drift. You must no longer tolerate drifting. You must turn your discipline into law, or remain the man who performs, but never ascends. Let me show you how to begin. First, choose one behavior that must become law. Maybe it's waking at a fixed hour. Maybe it's reciting your chief aim aloud each morning. Maybe it's documenting your wins and losses daily. Write it as law. I rise at 5:30. I study my aim. I act with clarity. I do not delay. Don't ask yourself how you feel about it. Don't wonder if it'll work. Declare it and obey it. For 30 days, no exceptions. Then double it. Then triple it. In 90 days, you'll become the man, the law. Rewards. Repeat this with me, not as hype but as command. Effort without aim is wasted energy. My actions are not forced. They are enforced by law. I no longer perform, I govern. Let's go deeper. Let's build the throne from which you no longer beg for change, but command it. No man has power without a central law, and no law is higher than the one you place at the core of your soul, your definite chief aim. All discipline must serve this law. All structure must flow toward it. Until this law is written, you are not yet a commander. You are still a servant of scattered will. Discipline is not the beginning of power. Declaration is, discipline might make you consistent, but it won't make you certain. And certainty is the seed of every empire. Understand this, you can never rise above the clarity of your aim. If your vision is vague, your steps will be unsure. If your aim is timid, your movement will hesitate. But once your aim is definite, your day becomes sacred. Andrew Carnegie gave me one instruction that altered my life. Young man, write your aim, speak it aloud, obey it like the law of God. He didn't ask me to try harder. He told me to declare with force and live by that law, no matter what. Most men avoid this, because once you declare, you must choose. And choosing means giving up the comfort of drifting. Discipline lets you feel productive without facing the fear of direction, but declaration forces you to rise. But law demands clarity. Law exposes your vagueness and crushes it. Now listen carefully. Your definite chief aim must be specific in outcome, emotional in weight, commanding in tone, timeless in focus. It is not a wish. It is not a goal. It is a covenant. Let me show you the difference between a man of discipline and a man of law. The disciplined man says, I'll try to build a business. The man of law says, I will build an enterprise that impacts 1 million lives and earns 10 million by the year 1929. The first one hopes. The second one commands. You must not write this aim once. You must study it like scripture. You must recite it aloud twice a day, morning and evening, not as an affirmation, but as a command. Your subconscious mind will never obey what it hears once. It obeys what it cannot escape. Say it until it becomes breath. Say it until you feel foolish. Then say it until you feel undeniable. Let the repetition reshape your identity. Let the tone of it enter your bones. Let the spirit of it eliminate every distraction from your days. You say you want to be free, then you must declare what freedom means, and you must write it as law. Your aim is not for motivation, it is for alignment. If you do not know what you are building, you will build what the world feeds you. You will obey their schedules, their urgencies, their fears. But the man who walks with a written aim walks with powerful disobedience. Disobedience to drift, to noise, to the false urgencies of weak men. And remember, your aim is not private. Speak it aloud so the world may measure you, not because you need their praise, but because law is public. Kings did not whisper decrees. They proclaimed them, and so must you speak now, not as a hopeful man, but as a man of command. I do not guess, I declare. My aim is law, and I bow to it. My morning begins with clarity. My evening ends in obedience, and once this is done, your so-called discipline will no longer be needed. Your days will now be governed by a central law. When others wake and wonder what to do, you rise and execute what was already decided. Right now, your 5 commandments. Let us move forward. Let us now write the non-negotiables that will support this law. Your 5 commandments. What causes a man to hesitate, worry, falter mid-task? It is not pressure. It is not fatigue. It is option. Discipline can bring you to the task, but only law will remove the internal debate. Discipline says, do it. Law says, there is no other way. A man suffers because he still asks, he still weighs, he still debates with himself. But the man of law does not ask. He executes. He is not delayed by questions because his answer was written before the pressure began. This is the secret to true inner peace. Eliminated choice. Most men think freedom means more options. The wise know. Freedom begins when options are removed, when the path is narrow, when the command is final, when the law is written and no emotion can rewrite it. Discipline says, should I wake at 5 a.m.? Law says, I rise before the sun, because that is the law of my becoming. Discipline says, I should eat well. Law says, I eat what fuels my aim. Nothing more. One questions, the other commands. You may remember the story of Abraham Lincoln, not the most skilled, not the most popular, but he carried a moral law that no pressure could bend. He faced entire armies, entire crowds shouting for compromise, yet he moved forward as if led by an invisible hand. That hand was law, and it gave him peace in the fire. Now ask yourself plainly, what are you still debating that should already be declared? What part of your day still depends on your mood? What action is still subject to your energy, your comfort, your circumstance? That is where you must write personal law. You will do this in 5 domains. Your 5 commandments, morning law. When do you rise? What must happen before the world can reach you? Thought law. What thoughts will you reject? What meditations will you allow? Speech law. What words will you eliminate? Gossip, doubt, small talk. What will you speak with intention? Time law. Where will your hours go? What non-negotiable tasks support your aim? Aim law. How will you ensure every act, every word, every plan serves your vision? Each must be written with authority, not in pencil, not in vague language, but in lawful declaration. The subconscious will obey only what you mean, and you do not mean anything that is still open for negotiation. Say this aloud. Peace comes when choice is removed. I do not ask how I feel. I obey what I wrote. My law frees me from the slavery of uncertainty. Imagine a builder showing up at a job site. If he asks himself each morning what he feels like building, he'll never complete the house. But if he arrives with a blueprint and that blueprint becomes law, then every brick is placed with purpose, every nail driven with certainty. That is how a life is built. You are not here to improve. You are here to declare war on uncertainty. You are here to replace choice with code. You are here to evolve from a man of discipline to a man of law. You must stop living like a man who tries and begin living like a man who enforces. From now on, the law you write is the only voice that matters, and the man who follows it without fail will not only have peace, he will have power. Let us continue. The world tells you to rest when you're tired. I tell you, rest only when the law allows. Not your mood, not your mind. The law, the rhythm you wrote, the code you vowed. Carve this into your being. Even in exhaustion, I obey. Law does not yield to how I feel. I move through pain not because I want to, but because I am governed by a law greater than comfort. Understand this with finality. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the courtroom of conviction. What worth is your code if it evaporates under heat? What strength is your aim if it melts under pressure? The man of law tightens his grip while others loosen theirs, and in that moment he ascends. Don't confuse this with stubbornness. This is not blind resistance. This is purpose clothed in flesh. This is a man whose word is no longer poetry but order. A man who says, this is who I am, so this is what I do, without exception. Here lies the paradox. The man who enforces law upon himself does not weaken, he strengthens. He gains energy because of the enforcement. Why? Because his soul begins to trust him. His mind stops questioning. His emotions stop resisting. All forces within begin marching to one single command. This is why few succeed, not because they lack ability, but because they renegotiate their law when it stings. They rewrite their vow the moment pressure arrives, but not you. You do not edit the contract in the storm. You tighten your grip on it. Say it aloud. I do not change the law when it gets hard. I enforce the law especially when it gets hard. The greater the weight, the deeper my law is carved. This is how legacies are built. Not through ease, not through bursts of passion, but through unyielding repetition beneath load. You are not building a habit. You are not chasing a goal. You are building internal governance, and when that structure is in place, no man, no market, no failure, no fatigue can dismantle it. Let me ask you plainly, who are you when you're spent? What identity remains? When no one claps, no one thanks you, and no results appear, that man, that identity, is who you must forge now, because that man will carry you when your flesh begs you to quit, and that man isn't built by discipline, he is built by law. Write your law while the skies are calm, so you can follow it when the storm breaks. Speak your command in silence so you can enforce it in the chaos. This is your edge. This is your crown. This is the dividing line between pretenders and builders. You are no longer at the mercy of motivation. You are no longer enslaved to stress. You are the lawgiver, and when you live this way, your power compounds. Because every action reinforces your identity, and your identity is designed to endure. Let the world burn out. Let others fold. You rise through law, and the fire that consumes the weak will be the fire that forges you. You now stand at a higher threshold. The man of law no longer requires even motivation, because the structure has become instinct. Let us go higher. Motivation is a visitor. Law is a resident. The man ruled by feeling is a wanderer. The man ruled by law is a builder. And builders do not consult emotion. They rise because they said they would. They act because the structure demands action. Feel this shift take root. You no longer need the spark. You are the fire. You don't need reasons to act. You act because it is written. This is the doorway to freedom. Because you are no longer moved by what's outside, you are moved by what you've declared within. Henry Ford didn't build an empire on good mornings. He didn't wait for motivation to craft steel and systems. He moved because he had written a single sentence: I will build a motor car for the multitude. That sentence was law, and everything after it, obedience. Ask yourself, what sentence commands you? What line have you etched so deeply into your spirit that nothing can shake it? You will never live freely until you know. You will never build power until your structure becomes self-commanding. Say it aloud. I do not need motivation. I obey. My actions are not emotional, they are structured. I live by the command I declared. This is how warriors are formed. This is how kings are forged, not through applause but through architecture. You must become the structure. You must become the law. Because once your character is fused to law, nothing can separate you from action. Most men don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they are ruled by how they feel. And feeling is treacherous. Feeling is sweet poison. It lulls, it delays, it lies. Law cuts through the noise. Law says, this is what we do. And it demands execution. Now you must design your day so there is no friction between waking and action. No hesitation, no second guessing. You already decided yesterday. You already wrote the command. Today is not for thinking. It is for obeying. This is how you become unstoppable. You don't wait for the moment. You don't seek permission from mood. You don't ask, should I? You act because law already answered. Now you must build rituals, sacred anchors, ordered hours. These are not routines, they are laws, and the more you obey them, the more they become identity. And the man who lives in identity never wastes energy asking, who am I today? He knows, and that certainty moves mountains. Do not underestimate the quiet power of obedience. A man who follows one law with absolute commitment is mightier than a man with 50 good ideas. Simplicity is strength. Repetition is dominance. Obedience to law is sovereignty. Say it now, I have written my law, now I obey it, without emotion. My motivation is irrelevant. My law is everything. I rise because it is written. I act because it is who I am. From this moment forward, let this be your command. Nothing I do is optional. It is written, therefore it is done. And with each act of obedience, your soul will grow quieter, your stress will diminish, your chaos will yield, because now you know who you are. You are governed. Let others search for motivation. Let others chase inspiration. You will build law, you will become law, and from that structure you will command wealth, you will command peace, you will command legacy. We now advance to the place where identity becomes destiny, because what you repeatedly obey shapes who you become. You do not become great by accident. You do not rise through scattered effort or temporary drive. You become great by structure. You become who you are by what you obey repeatedly. The law you choose to enforce today becomes the destiny you live tomorrow. A man is not defined by his dreams, but by his discipline toward those dreams. And even discipline is not enough. It must be tied to a written standard that does not bend. It must be law, because what you repeat daily, without permission from your feelings, becomes your unshakable identity. When Napoleon Hill was commanded by Andrew Carnegie to write The Philosophy of Success, he did not wait to feel ready. He did not wait for clarity. He obeyed the vision. He declared a law, and he submitted to it. Through poverty, through ridicule, through obscurity, that obedience forged his identity. It is no different for you. If you obey chaos, you become chaos. If you obey delay, you live delay. But if you obey law, you rise above drift. You become the man who no longer apologizes for what he is, because what he is has been forged by standard. Say this with strength. I become what I repeatedly obey. Law rewrites the man until he commands destiny. I do not drift. I move under divine structure. Your character today is the echo of what you tolerated yesterday. Your future tomorrow is the song of what you obey now. This is not poetry, this is law. You must now decide, what kind of echo will you send forward? Will your name be a whisper, or will it be a pillar? Identity is not found, it is built. It is not gifted, it is declared. You must now live as if your entire fate depends on the law you speak into the mirror each morning, because it does. The most dangerous lie is this: I will become who I am meant to be. No, you will become what you command yourself to become. No man drifts into greatness. No man stumbles into excellence. All who rise have first written the law within. You will now build a ritual of identity. Every morning, speak your law aloud. Every night, review your law in writing. Every hour, align your decisions to that law. And if you fail, begin again. With more force, more repetition, zero apology. The world cannot resist a man who obeys his own law. He is rare. He is frightening. He is immovable. While others ask, ponder, and debate, he moves. While others search for answers, he acts from conviction. And it is conviction, not talent, that builds legacy. Edison did not become Edison because he tried harder. He became Edison because he did not negotiate. He acted in law while others questioned, and that rhythm, day after day, became the identity that changed the world. Now you understand. Obedience is not weakness. It is the highest form of mastery. The man who obeys his own law is already free. He does not ask for permission. He is the authority. He does not wait for clarity. He moves as clarity. Say it now. I no longer hope. I become. I no longer try. I live. My law is my identity. My identity is my fate. Let this part be. The mirror you never forget. You will become nothing greater than what you consistently obey. Write your standard. Burn it into your mind. Let no hour go unaligned, and if the old self rises, slay him with obedience to the new law. This is your turning point. The man you were is over. The man you are becoming has no tolerance for guessing, pleasing, or wandering. He has declared law, and he will become it in full. Let us continue. There is a point where discipline breaks. You have seen it. You have felt it. That moment when the will weakens, the motivation fades, and the day overwhelms you. And in that moment, the man without law quits. He negotiates, he delays, and eventually he vanishes from his own path. But the man of law is different. His path is not powered by feeling, it is powered by command. He does not rise by accident. He rises because he cannot do otherwise. His days are not options. They are orders. His life is not an experiment, it is a structure, and that structure is unbreakable. You may begin with discipline, good, but you must finish with law. Discipline is a good servant, but a poor master. It will work for you until it grows tired. But law does not tire. Law does not ask. Law does not care if you are afraid, uncertain, sad, or weary. Law moves forward and brings you with it. The reason most men fall is not lack of ability, it is lack of structure. They have no internal government, no personal constitution. They rely on energy and inspiration instead of written command. And when their feelings betray them, as they always do, they fall with them. Edison did not survive thousands of failures because he was disciplined. He survived because he was obedient to law. His goal was fixed. His hours were structured. His identity was tied to his process, not to the applause of others. He obeyed what he had declared. That is why he built what others only imagined. You must now accept this. The man who writes his law and obeys it becomes invincible. Because nothing outside him can sway what is enforced within. His strength is not public, it is private. His power is not shouted, it is structured, and that structure holds his destiny in place. You want to transform? Then stop leaning on effort, stop measuring energy, start building law. You want to change your body? Write the command. At this hour, I train, no debate. You want to build wealth? Write the command. These 2 hours I build. No excuse. You want to master your voice? Write the command. I rehearse daily, whether I feel like it or not. Your life is waiting for structure. Your future is waiting for law. The kingdom you imagine will not be built by scattered motivation. It will be built by divine repetition. Speak it, obey it, repeat it, build it, become it. Say this now and write it down. I'm not disciplined, I'm commanded. I live by what I wrote, not what I feel. I no longer drift. I enforce law, and if I fall, I return to law. That is the difference. The disciplined man falls and asks why. The lawful man falls and returns to structure. His code is still standing, and that code brings him back into power. The men who built history lived by law. Moses brought tablets. Solomon ruled by command. Jesus quoted scripture. Lincoln acted from moral code. Edison moved by structure. Ford executed vision without needing applause. Schwab enforced order with quiet repetition. They were not just dreamers, they were builders of law. You want to join them? Then write your law and obey it with finality. No more guessing, no more feeling your way through the day, no more asking permission from your mood. Declare the standard and become the man who enforces it. Let me give you your task. Write your definite chief aim. Again, but this time, Tie it to 5 daily laws. 1 law for your body, 1 law for your work, 1 law for your speech, 1 law for your thoughts, 1 law for your time. Then enforce them, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready. Every single day, if you fall, return to them. If you rise, add to them. And in 90 days, the man you were will no longer exist. Discipline is the start, law is the finish. Now act like the finisher. Obey like the builder, rise like the one who does not need to be pushed because he commands himself from within. Let us continue. Many begin with fire. Few finish with foundation. Many wake at dawn for a week, build for a month, discipline their habits for a season. But then fatigue visits, confusion creeps in, the storm howls louder, and the man without law returns to drift. Unsure why the spark is gone, because fire cannot survive without structure. Effort alone is a flame, but law is the furnace. Law holds the fire and channels it to build. And when the wind comes, the man of law does not panic. He does not waver. His fire is enclosed by his own design, because he lives by a written command stronger than doubt, emotion, or temptation. The man of law no longer needs to decide daily who he is. That question was answered the moment he declared it and enforced it. He does not seek identity, he repeats it. He does not chase results, he executes the rhythm that creates them. This is the final message I must give you. Stop worshipping discipline. Start writing law. Stop relying on inspiration. Start declaring structure. Stop asking your mood what to do. Obey what your higher self has already written. And here is what you must now do. No delay, no exceptions. Write your definite chief aim. 1 sentence, 1 clear target. Write it in blood and stone. Define 5 daily laws to uphold it. Law of waking. What time without fail? Law of building. What task? At what hour? Law of word. What will I say or not say? Law of thought. What will I entertain or refuse? Law of review. When do I audit myself? Daily. Weekly. Never miss it. Speak your aim every morning. Read it aloud as a command, not a wish, not a prayer, a military order. Remind your mind who is in charge. Track your obedience daily. Review. Did I live my law? Did I break it? Why? How will I? Return with more force tomorrow? Do this for 90 days. No delay, no resets, no, I'll start Monday.